Hey guys, it's Matt. This is actually a pretty serious presentation about the Bretton Woods Agreement, 1944. The meeting in New Hampshire actually took place that created what the world financial system would look like for the next 100 or so many years before it completely collapses in on itself as the inflation is running away with itself now. And I don't mean to start with this, but might as well. Let's weed out anybody that stumbled upon this video. This is not an excuse for me to do my impersonations, although later I will do a schmoke and a pancake. I will do that. But the movie, it looks like, let's get the insane asylum stuff out of the way first so we could, I don't know how I'll title this, but regular, normal people might actually be stumbling upon this to get something out of it. The movie, it looks like just like what Forrest Gump did with the Apple stock when the movie Forrest Gump came out, showing the world and those that would care to pay attention, or those in the club, to buy Apple stock, as Forrest Gump told everybody to do when Apple was at its all-time low. Whenever Forrest Gump came out, maybe Apple stock was about 15. The movie Goldmember, in my opinion, did the same thing with gold. 2002, the price of gold, at least at some point, I don't know what the average close was, but it was in the 200s, at least for a little while in 2002. And the price of gold per ounce today is around 1800, with a high being around 2000 per ounce. So the massive run in gold just happened to start about the time of Austin Powers' release of Goldmember. I love gold. Vaja. Somebody with a diving mask and a snorkel in their own bathtub just came up for air and was like, what did he say, honey? Come here, you got to hear this. This is what Dr. Phil's been talking about. The insane side of YouTube. I found it. These are the numbers on Austin Powers' Goldmember. And even if these numbers weren't, quote, close to the premise that I'm putting forth here, I still would be putting it forth because we've seen how they do business. And again, the Forrest Gump stock example related to what Lieutenant Dan got Forrest Gump invested in. He got us invested in what? Some sort of fruit. That was a flag to go by. If anybody, that there was one guy that's not in the club, one guy that doesn't go to the Eyes Wide Shut parties, that probably interpreted that and said, I'm just for the heck of it, I'm going to go, Apple's like at all-time low, I'm just going to go pour everything I have in Apple. And that guy has 14 speedboats today. But it's this. I think it's the same thing going on here with Goldmember, so related to the Bretton Woods Agreement. And that more serious presentation will come in just a moment. So we have the end of Bretton Woods, New Hampshire meeting in 1944 was July 22nd. 2000, wasn't 2002. July 22nd, 1944, Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. This is the release date of Austin Powers' Goldmember. I Love Gold is July 26th. Remember, I Love Gold, July 26th, 2002. So, I mean, wouldn't it be kind of a giveaway that I would think, to me, it would be a giveaway if they made it the same damn date. Bretton Woods, they were there for weeks, but the agreements were signed on July 22nd. If this was also July 22 with the 422s, and anybody wanting to scream at this presentation going, Matt, yeah, that would be a giveaway. All the regular people in the world would be relating it as you are, that Austin Powers Goldmember is related to Bretton Woods. I agree, it wouldn't be a giveaway to the average guy on the cul-de-sac, but it would be a blatant giveaway to us. But you have 26, 2002. 2 plus 2 is 4. July 22nd, 4 off July 26th. I think there's something there. But I'm looking at the box office numbers. The budget, 63 million. Box office, 296.7 million. 296.7, that actually could have been a closing price of gold per troy ounce sometime in 2002. I mean, I think the official average was, I don't know, 305 or 310 or something like that. But there was a time in 2002, I'm sure, when it went into the 290s. And I wonder, I'm not going to go back and look through all the charts, and it doesn't matter, guys. I don't know, sometimes you just read the matrix code, and this is, to me, now this is as clear as the Apple stock presentation in Forrest Gump. So the box office results, 296.7, that literally was just right around the troy ounce closings of the same year for a movie called Goldmember. I love gold. I'm from Holland. Isn't that weird? My Faja. I don't. I just. Maybe this would be insane. This presentation, or at least this part of it, would be insane to anybody that has not looked at the things we've looked at and studied the things we've studied. And I guarantee the old guard, the Jedi's here, going, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, good catch, man. Yeah, then they're not phased by this. This is just how these creeps do business. Guys, if anybody's new, let me go back and start giving a more respectable and more sane presentation so I don't lose anybody, which will maybe provide some credibility to my insane presentation. I can't do Forrest Gump and Apple right now. I'll do that later. So I'll read, you can't see this, I guess. I'll read the key parts from Wikipedia, the Bretton Woods system. The Bretton Woods system of monetary management established the rules for commercial and financial relations among the United States, Canada, Western Europe, and other countries, Australia, Japan, etc. After the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement, the Bretton Woods system, I'm reading in yellow, the Bretton Woods system required countries to guarantee convertibility of their currencies into U.S. dollars to within 1% of fixed parity rates, with the dollar convertible to gold bullion for foreign governments and central banks at $35 per troy ounce of fine gold, or point blah, 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 blah. Last, it also established the International Monetary Fund. A few things here, guys. This is going on, a meeting in New Hampshire is going on during World War II. During World War II. The official surrender of Japan was not September until, guys, I'm just going by the history books here. We can't stray every single time. The official surrender of Japan was September of 1945, and it varies for the Nazi regime, but it was either April or into May where European fighting ceased, 1945. This is 1944. Now, yes, I hear you saying, Matt, they knew at this point the war would be won. I hear you, but it's just a little odd to be... It's a little too planned out. I'm sorry. In the middle of World War II, they're going to New Hampshire and deciding what the world financial system would look like for the next 100 years. Maybe we wait for a week after it's over. Okay. The excuse makers, have a good argument on the other side. Well, Matt, it was just inevitable, the end of Nazi Germany and Japan. Okay, I'll give you that. Continuing to read from Wikipedia, just the yellow, it was a meeting in New Hampshire at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. In yellow, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the IBRD, was established, which today is part of the criminals at the World Bank Group. The United States, which controlled 2/3 of the world's gold, insisted that the Bretton Woods system run on both gold and the U.S. dollar. Of course they did. Last part at the bottom, on 15 August 1971, the United States terminated convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold, removing the Bretton Woods, the Nixon shock. Nixon removed, that puppet on a string, Nixon removed the U.S. from the gold standard, and all that bullcrap that they've presented as part of their long-term 100-year script for a long, long time. So, of course, this is more gigantic evidence that supports the one world system. Not that countries are running around making their own decisions, but it does open up different degrees of interpretation, or the argument that the one world system needed to grow in power and control. And it didn't nearly have the power and control that it had back then or prior to World War II that it has now. So, yeah, it's, you get into the minutiae. It's one world system, but some people could argue, it was far less powerful in the past. And this does sort of support that, because it almost seems like they needed to play both sides to create, and this might become more apparent in some of the slides I'm going to show you in a few minutes. It almost seems like what they wanted to create from World War I by cooking up that ridiculous scenario that somehow brought millions of people to war in the trenches over the winging and the digging of one jerk riding around in an open-air convertible. That story's ridiculous. It's almost like they didn't get it done, and they had to spend another 20 years cooking up the scenario that led to the tinderbox that created World War II to get done what they wanted to get done, which really is about this international monetary system, Bretton Woods, and all the rest. So We'll talk about that in the slides going forward. But here, guys, it's all where they have to do it under a certain star. They have to do it under a certain astrology. Shit I don't understand and I don't care to understand, but it's how they do business. No, just why would this international meeting be in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, at Mount Washington Hotel? All of it is significant. Why is it significant? I don't know. I don't know specifically the reason. I just know it would have to be. Do you know how hard it would be to get to that part of New Hampshire in 1944? It's hard to get there now. I mean, you want to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. You got to go here. You got to take a this and that and a railroad up and then to take this car. And it's like that scene with all the drug dealers coming in clear and present danger. Why doesn't he fix this road? It would be a pain in the ass. There's no way they would have agreed to go out there. Matt, they needed security. Oh, give me a break. Why don't you go to Baltimore or New York or a harbor where you just fly in and take a cab or a limo all the way up, hours and hours, each one of the participants. And don't say they needed to be secluded. And come on. This one world system would have no ability to protect foreign. And there's nobody who was out to get these foreign diplomats. They wouldn't even needed that much security. I mean, with the news, probably the tide had turned on World War II. People in the U.S. were generally happy because they get the news and the propaganda coming in that Hitler's war machine was being beaten down. They have to go hide out. It's all for their creepy reasons. Even the reason they chose the Mount Washington Hotel, all part of their spell. I can't explain it, but you just wouldn't go all the way out in the middle of nowhere. Go look at a map where this thing was and imagine how hard it was to get there in 1944. All right, next slide or next screen capture, and I can hear the people yelling at me, Matt, this is boring. Go back to the crazy conspiracy horse shit and the Austin Powers and the Forrest Gump stuff. Okay, but I can't just do that. My only audience would be the cast of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I need to present. Remember in Back to School, Paulie, but he was the chauffeur driver for Thornton Mellon. He says, I'm nice and I'm tough. I put one kid through college. I put another kid through a wall. I present insane next to the sane. That confuses the hell out of people that want to call me insane because they can't understand the sane presentation inside the same bookends. In 1944 at Bretton Woods, as a result of the collective conventional wisdom of the time, representatives from all the leading Allied nations, all identical, all the leading Allied nations, every one had to show up and get their ass to Bretton Woods. They collectively favored a regulated system of fixed exchange rates, indirectly disciplined. Ooh, I like the way they put that. Indirectly, Marcellus Wallace disciplined by a U.S. dollar tied to gold, a system that relied on a regulated market. They told me in school it was a free market. A regulated market economy with tight controls. That sounds like the Soviet Union. What the hell's going on here? Wikipedia usually gives it away if you read between the lines. In this case, you don't have to read between the lines. You just have to know how to read. Quote, regulated system, fixed exchange, disciplined, the entire system disciplined by a U.S. dollar tied to gold, of which one group in one room controls everything and the printing of everything and the reserves of everything. And then it says, and just in the next sentence, it says regulated market economy. There's 4 gigantic Soviet Union factors in 2 sentences. It just flat out tells you. What tells me what? With us? Tells at the lowest level, guys, there is a free market. If you want to run around town and sell your pencils and you want to beat the competition and work 90 hours a week and your wife won't even talk to you, you got to take more time with the kids. You need to spend more time with the kids. And you're out there working your ass off and just selling your pencils. Oh, that's free market. Oh, they'll love that. They'll tell you in school. It's just a free market. But then once you get to a certain level, a high level where Jared is serving his pigs and blankets, there ain't no free market at the highest levels. It ain't the conspiracy people. They're just telling you straight up. So at this moment in time, potentially the Death Star wasn't fully built right at the end of World War II. Okay, all the evidence supports one world system, but the only ammo anybody would have to push back on that was, well, Matt, you shouldn't say one world system. At this time, one group that had tremendous control, that was looking to expand their influence, like the Galactic Empire that Darth Vader reigned over, and they needed to do what they did and cook up both sides of World War I. They needed to do what they did in World War II. They needed all of this to finally have a working Death Star. So it's semantics. Yeah, okay. If it's not one world system, it was one group with tremendous, tremendous power. Probably stems from the Knights Templar and all the old money that's always existed. I mean, the story. I'm not researching it for 1 second, but that story about the Catholic Church went down and hunted and killed all the... Matt, don't you know the Catholic Church went and killed them all? That's why Friday the 13th is the day. I don't buy that for a second. You've done no, I don't buy it. At some point I can read the way they make their presentations, and I'm not going to... What research am I supposed to do? Is Francis gonna open the Vatican Library up? I can get in there and rip pages out like Robert Langdon. What research am I supposed to do? Go to Wikipedia? So your gut feeling at this point is better than any research I could do anyway. So fine, let's just say there's a system of control that's extremely powerful. Marcellus Wallace, whatever, he controlled a big section of LA, not all of LA, fine, whatever. But when this war is done, where they started and created the conditions for it by creating the infrastructure on both sides, the New Deal on both sides, Hitler's New Deal with his Autobahns, and all the U.S. stuff was being built out at the same time, whatever, think about how hardcore pipe hitting that group is that could create that situation. Now, if there were any holdouts, if there were any left, they came to Bretton, they brought their ass to Bretton Woods, and they said, here's what's going to happen. Let me introduce you to your new business partner, Marcellus Wallace. See, here's what's going to happen, folks. And when we all come to agreement here, and we all force your hand, then Jared's going to come in and serve pigs in blankets. The United States dollar, all your dumb broke-ass currencies, will be tied to the U.S. dollar, so we control everything. And we'll tell the world then that we're being fair dealers, and we'll tie it to gold. I love gold. They'll tie it to gold. And then, we really won't. If anybody wants to exchange U.S. dollars for gold, certain banks will give them their little flakes and say, look, see how real it is? You gave me your dollars, I gave you your flakes. Now you get out of here with them flakes. You can't, what are you going to do with those flakes? You can't even buy corn flakes with those. It's like 5 people converted their U.S. dollars for gold. And so you can do it. Oh, it's really backed. And then maybe Nixon, I think Nixon... Well, Nixon didn't do anything. That's just a puppet on a string, like that scene in Sound of Music. He didn't do anything. He just was told, we're getting off the gold standard. Well, to me, that's part of the script. That's part of the long-term script to go completely to fiat, which means there's nothing backing the currency. And how can you even push? It's all backed by air. You can't do anything more than that. Oh, yes, you can. Create crypto. That's even more etheric, if that's even the right word. That's what people think this Bitcoin is, just good people that want to push back. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Sure, people have made tons of money in Bitcoin and in crypto. They want to present the multi-millionaire or billionaire stories regarding crypto and Bitcoin and the other different types of crypto that's coming, because they want to create another gold rush so everybody runs into it. It was created by the system. Of course it was. I don't care what research anybody could do and said this guy put this. I mean, how would you even do that? I mean, look, I'll do 1 minute and we'll move off. Nobody will ever be able to convince me. Bitcoin was created by the system, the darkest part of the system itself. And if those that would have noticed what the system was doing, like the messages in Goldmember, like the messages in Forrest Gump about Apple, made tons and tons of money. I don't care either way. I'm not looking to ride these waves anymore. I'm not in any way for the rest of my life. Even if the symptoms or the signs and symbols of what's going to be the next big boom are right in front of me, I'm never going to put my etheric energy or get involved in that sick system ever again. I don't care if I have to eat not Bell anymore, but Boots and Puss's cat food. I don't care. I don't care what boom presents itself in front of me. I'll never get involved in it. If I see one like Goldmember, whatever, guys, I'll let you know, because some people have to make a bunch of money to pay for their house and their kids' college and all the shit that I don't have to do. But I don't for 1 second believe that good people created Bitcoin as a pushback. They could have removed, if it was really a threat, I mean, just think it through. If it was really a threat, they could have come forth and first of all, they would have created a crisis. Everybody's house would have dropped 20%, and the stocks would have dropped. And they said, everybody's moving to crypto, and we're not ready to do this. This threatens the entire integrity of the United States dollar and the entire world financial markets. They would have made it illegal if it was really a threat. And they would have cooked up a crisis so there'd be hundreds of millions of people around the world begging for it to be made illegal. Come on, guys. Of course, it all comes from the same system. So just ending this screenshot of this slide. Again, everybody from all over the world comes in for this Bretton Woods system where Marcellus Wallace stands up and says, you're all going to peg to my currency. You're all going to, I mean, it's not United States it's the one system chose the United States at this point in time to play this role. Don't think of it like the U.S. was being mean, or it's not these, the people in control, I guarantee they don't associate with any one country or any flag or anything like that. They told everybody in this meeting what's going to happen. You're all going to tie to this US dollar. And there's probably a few people in the room that maybe even push back. People that thought they still had power, or some guy from Austria that had some sort of nobility, connections or something. He's like, wait a second, you want me to tie my Malaysian ringgit to your currency? But word has it, you can create as much of that as you want on a printing press. Isn't that slightly rigged? And then you're going to tie it to gold, but then you can print up as much as you want, and we all have to tie to you. It's like an acorn farmer, the only guy with an acorn patch, saying the only currency we can use in the rest of the Brad Wesley town is acorns. A couple people probably pushed back. And then somebody said to them, or took them off to the side and said, let me tell you a few things about your new business partner, Marcellus Wallace. And then at the end they were saying, Butch, you my blind, and then they did what Butch did in that bar scene in Pulp Fiction. Say it, I go down in the fifth. And that's all Austrian, Prime Minister from Austria, say it, I go down in the fifth. That's what happened. They just told you in Pulp Fiction, basically, probably what happened between Butch and Marcellus Wallace, what happened in Bretton Woods. All right, next slide, or screen capture. I'll just read the yellow. Let me read it through, then I'll come back, make fun of it, use it as more evidence for one world system, etc. Post-war world capitalism suffered from a dollar shortage. The United States was running large balance of trade surpluses, and U.S. reserves were immense and growing. It was necessary to reverse this flow. Even though all nations wanted to buy U.S. exports, dollars had to leave the United States and become available for international use so they could do so. In other words, the United States would have to reverse the imbalance in global wealth by running a balance of trade deficit, financed by an outflow of U.S. reserves to other nations. Skip. The U.S. could run a financial deficit by either 1, importing from other countries, 2, building plants in other countries, or by 3, donating to foreign countries. Now, there's thousands of proofs of the one world system, but there you have it in 2 sentences. If this was all there is, it's enough to prove the one world system. Read again, but I'll stop. Post-war world capitalism suffered from a dollar shortage. No, it didn't. They can print up whatever they want. Now they do it on a supercomputer. They could print on a printing press, whatever they needed to do. They can create as many dollars as they wanted daily. There was no dollar shortage, but somebody screaming at me would say, well, fine, then they print it all up, Matt, and inflation would have gone hyperinflation. Fine, they need to, it's all, they don't want an apple in 1950 to be $40. Okay, I hear you, but this is just wrong. There's no dollar shortage. They should just say, and be honest with people and say they couldn't just print because it would lead to inflation. So this is a lie. The United States was running large balance of trade surpluses. Well, sure. During World War II, nothing happened in the United States. All the factories were still producing, and the rest of the world was destroyed. So the U.S. was the producer of everything. I guess when that big sign across the Trenton Bridge Trenton makes, the world takes. I guarantee there ain't nothing that the world takes from Trenton today. Maybe they made that stupid sign across the bridge when Trenton and almost every U.S. city was actually building real stuff that the rest of the world was taking. So it says the U.S. reserves were immense and growing. Sure, all this currency coming back into the U.S. But here's where aren't we told, like, in some sense that, countries compete and politicians want what's best for U.S. citizens, and they're kind of competing with other nations? But here it says it was necessary to reverse this flow. So basically there had to have been a direct sabotage against what is best for the United States at the expense of bringing the wealth up of every other country. It's like saying, it says here it was necessary to reverse this flow. This is literally like saying, Grandpa, how's your business doing? Well, for 5 years we've made a ton of money, and this isn't good. We have to reverse this. Next year I want to lose a ton of money. And if somebody's screaming at me from their jacuzzi, I hear you saying, well, if everybody around the world is so poor, Matt, there'd be nobody left to buy U.S. stuff. Okay, but still, this operation was worldwide. It wasn't to benefit the United States and just keep everybody in check so that they have just enough money to buy from the United States. It was a one world strategy at the expense of the, quote, United States citizen. So basically, again, the first couple sentences basically says things couldn't be any better for the United States. Couldn't be any better. And this needs to change because, again, those, in my opinion, that sit around the creepy table, it's not like they just are in the U.S. and they want the U.S. to succeed. I don't think they have any country allegiances. They see it as their domain. They see it as the entire earth, in my opinion. That's the way they would look at it. That would be in the forefront of their decision making, not to benefit the U.S. The U.S. is just a pawn in what they consider to be their world playground. That's my interpretation it's not really my interpretation. This is just telling you right here. So to have this bullshit fiat system sustainable, the U.S. has to have huge It's not about the United States. It's about the currency that's at the top of the org chart, the currency that everything else is kind of pegged to, that the petrodollar is pegged to. It has to be huge imbalances, trade imbalances. So they probably got in a room, Bretton Woods 2, that never made the press, and Jared came back to serve, and they said, how do we create, this is where China comes in, how do we create huge trade imbalances, because that's what we need to maintain, or this fiat house of cards system. This sick people here, these minions, can't build anything real. They don't ever want to build anything real to benefit a real man or a real woman. It always has to be faux and false. So that's where China comes in. Well, we need the U.S. as the top of the org chart of currencies, with the U.S. dollar, to run gigantic deficits, because that's the only engine that's going to power this damn house of cards. Well, how do we do that? We need to pick a country we can control. They chose China. It wasn't like, we talked about just a few videos back, it's not like countries were competing. This one world system chose China. That's the only, and all the outflows, all the money going to China. We hear all these stories of the boatloads of gold, and that's all bullcrap, in my opinion. Boatloads of, all the financial collapse channels talk for years, that boatloads of gold going into China. But the deficits are needed. The one world system needs the United States to run these endless deficits. The only way to do it in the immense way they needed it is until they get their crypto in place and the technologies exist today where they could just flip a switch probably and go over to crypto. They'll create another crisis probably and flip over to crypto at some point, but they've kept it long this. They probably will keep it going a few years or 5 years longer. So that's what the role of China is. And what a coincidence. Bretton Woods. What is Nixon tied to? Bretton Woods. Nixon is tied to decoupling the caboose of the U.S. dollar from the gold standard. That's what Nixon is known for. What is Nixon also known for? Opening up China. China was chosen as by the one world system. This is not conspiracy. This is obvious at this point. All that economic talk is pretty stressful, so let's just take a minute or two break. I mean, remember my favorite scene in any Austin Powers movie. Um, would you like a smoke and a pancake? A what? A smoke and a pancake. What is okay? What are the four smokes and a pancake? Smoke and a pancake, pipe and a crepe, bong and a blitz, cigar and a waffle. No, then there's no pleasing you. Goldmember, the phallus, a big G on his Adidas sweatsuit. Goldmember, price of gold. I love gold. Guys, how did this go down? I don't know. Like, we need to make an announcement to everybody that's in our club because we can't send an email directly. You can't have any sort of evidence that could be traced in any way. We will put the message for our people to buy gold in the new Austin Powers movie starring Beyonce, Goldmember. You know what? Put put a message to your peeps to buy gold. And every single Greg Marmalard of every single Omega House noticed this. They said, council meeting, even bring the interns here. They need to learn this too. We have a message to start buying up gold on the open market. And the interns are like, what? Because of this dumbass movie? You see, yes, see, we put it. You can't send it. It can't send out thousands of emails to the club. One email gets out. Who knows whether we put it in the dumbest media available. If we could put it in The Simpsons, we put it in The Simpsons every time when we have. But you can't keep doing that. So we use this. Now everybody will go buy gold. If you listen up, intern, gather around, like Professor Keating and Dead Poet Society, gather around. If we put it in the dumbest thing available, nobody will notice. Even if anybody does notice, they'll be considered some conspiracy freak. And now that we're noticing, we're 20 years late on it anyway. I presented this one about 6 years ago, I believe. I started talking about this one. In 1994, Forrest Gump came out. I believe it's 1994. Right about that time, Apple was at an all-time low. I worked for the insurance company. They had not yet sent me to Los Angeles in 94. I was working in Delaware for the insurance company. I remember people at different meetings, these dumbass insurance meetings I'd have to attend. I was, a young kid kind of out of college. I didn't say much in these meetings. They're talking about, should we buy Apple stock? Well, I don't know. It looks like Microsoft's going to put them out of business, but it's at an all-time low. What if it comes back? Like, people in the office were talking about this, and right about the same time, Forrest Gump comes out. Now, remember, Forrest Gump was supposed to take place, I don't know, the original run-up of Apple stock. Oh gosh, I don't know. Was it it doesn't matter, the late 70s? Okay, Forrest Gump comes out in 94, but you're looking back in time. You're looking at Forrest Gump in the late 70s or say 1980. So after his financial success with Bubba Grump Shrimp, because he's the only boat out there, right? There's a hurricane. He's the only boat not tied up, so he dominates the shrimping market. But Forrest, you can go in the shrimping business with me, Forrest. I can do Bubba. I can't do Forrest, so I'll get through that as best I can. I cannot do Forrest Gump. So then Lieutenant Dan apparently got us involved in some sort of fruit company. We don't have to worry about money no more. One last thing. I can't do Forrest Gump, so I don't even try. So say in 1980 he goes to the mailbox. Lieutenant Dan has put most of their money into Apple. Maybe it was like a penny stock. They had just come out of Steve had just come out of the garage, and now, he's turned the $5 million they made from Bubba Grump Shrimp into hundreds of millions because they got involved in this. He thinks it's a fruit company. he thinks it's Washington Apples or something. This dummy. But point is, if you're all the Greg Marmalards that were watching Forrest Gump in the theater, they elbowed their interns. They said, call a meeting. Elbow the intern. Call a meeting tonight at the Omega Houses. And look, guys, did it go down like... No, but there's some message here. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I don't know how it went down with the Greg Marmalards. I don't know, of course. But I didn't get in on this, I assure you. But he, they told you in 94... And then Apple stock price was like at an all-time or whatever, 20-year low. One dummy with incredible keen insight that wasn't in no Omega Houses, didn't know no Greg Marmalards. What was Niedermeyer? I was saying, what's Niedermeyer's name? Niedermeyer. he went, some guy that's just desperate, just lost his, like the beginning of Stripes, lost his girlfriend, lost his wife, lost everything, lost his job. He's got like $8,000 left to his name. He's got thrown out of his lease, and he says, you know what? He just watched Forrest and this Apple thing, and he heard Apple was at all-time low. One girl or guy somewhere probably put their money that wasn't connected in with the Greg Marmalards and put their money all on Apple on that date. And if it would have been 8,000 in 94, I don't know, 9, 10, 12 million today, something like that. I didn't do no math on it, but it was a message. Of course it was. So, in my opinion, these types of trends will continue, and they put the message, not just a stock pick, but a trend of how the world will go or where society will go, and the trends that people can use to make money from or off of, and they'll put it in movies. And the rule seems to be, the more absurd and idiotic the presentation, like this, or cartoons, the more truth potentially it may contain. And so I was like, Matt, you didn't get the memo. The world's gonna end. Haven't you been watching BitChute videos? They're not gonna put trends and things like that into? Oh, that's right, I forgot. The plasma shifts coming, and the world's gonna. Yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. Yeah, the world's gonna end. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Guys, just if the system completely goes quiet, then I would be concerned. If it's still trying to get up in our business and introducing new, V's, which is what is the hobo code we used? A little Comic-Con deviant, a new deviant of what's going on now, and if it goes quiet, then I'd be a little bit concerned. As long as it's up in our face and some King Richard slapping some little man on stage, and as long as it's doing all that shit, ain't no plasma shift coming, ain't no end of the world that the YouTubers figured out and the system itself hasn't figured out. If it goes quiet and everything just goes back to normal and they leave us alone, I'm telling you, I'd like to be left alone by this system, but that would concern me to a degree, if you see what I'm saying.